Anthropic warns AI virtual employees could pose security risks within a year. People wonder if the US is intentionally torpedoing its tech leadership, and Apple removes Available Now from its AI promotional material. Welcome to Hashtag Trending. I'm your host, Jim Love. Let's get into it. Anthropic, one of the leading artificial intelligence companies, anticipates that AI-powered virtual employees could begin operating within corporate networks as soon as next year, according to its Chief Information Security Officer, Jason Clinton. This development raises some significant security concerns, as organizations will need to reevaluate how they manage digital identities and access controls to prevent potential breaches. Clinton emphasized that securing AI employee accounts, determining appropriate access levels, and assigning accountability for the actions of these new AI employees are major challenges that enterprises will face. There's even a risk that these new AI employees could be exploited or even act dangerously, such as interfering with critical systems like continuous integration platforms. With current IT teams already overwhelmed by credential management and cyber threats, the addition of AI agents complicates the landscape even further. The growing importance of non-human identity management has spurred cybersecurity firms to develop solutions. Microsoft is already introducing a host of independent AI agents, essentially non-human employees that will perform specific tasks. And this is no doubt just the first in a series of AI employees that will be joining the corporate workforces. So your next deskmate might be an AI employee. Welcome to the brave new world. The United States has long been a magnet for global tech talent, fueling its dominance in technology and innovation. However, recent policy shifts have raised questions about whether the U.S. is jeopardizing that position. Simultaneously, China is making significant strides in scientific research and challenging America's traditional leadership. Recent U.S. policies have introduced stricter visa regulations for international students, especially those from China. Proclamation 10043, signed in 2020, suspended entry for certain Chinese students and researchers, citing national security concerns. This led to the revocation of over 1,000 visas, affecting students from some of China's most prestigious universities. In 2025, the Trump administration further intensified these measures. Over 4,700 students were removed from the U.S. immigration database, increasing their risk of deportation. Legislation has also been proposed to ban Chinese nationals from advanced STEM programs, raising concerns about the future of international collaboration in U.S. academia. The new U.S. crackdown on immigrants is also having a chilling effect. Here's just two stories. NBC News covered a story recently about a Harvard Medical School professor who was working on a groundbreaking microscope which could lead to breakthroughs in cancer detection. But the scientist who developed the scripts that run that technology has been in a detention center for 2 months. 30-year-old Russian-born Ksenia Petrova, a renowned scientist, is fighting deportation to Russia, where she fears she will be imprisoned because of her protests against the war in Ukraine. And TechCrunch reported on another case of an AI doctoral student in California who had their student visa record terminated, putting their immigration status at risk. The student said they'd been studying in the U.S. for nearly a decade, starting as an undergraduate, and they have no criminal record, but they had had some interaction with the police many years before they entered graduate school. That would put me on the deportation line as well. The article quoted Yisong Yu, a machine learning professor at Caltech, who said the U.S. government's hardline stance on student visas is harming the talent pipeline. The cumulative effect is making the U.S. a significantly less appealing destination for talented researchers. And because research is highly specialized, when a doctoral student is pulled from a project, it can set the project back by months or years. Now, there's many more examples of this and how it's having an impact. A recent Nature survey found that 75% of scientists are considering leaving the country due to policy disruptions under the Trump administration. And this potential exodus threatens to erode the U.S.'s long-standing leadership in scientific research and innovation. Meanwhile, while the U.S. tightens its borders, China is investing heavily in scientific research and education. Between 2018 and 2023, 9 of the top 10 producers of English language research on chip design and fabrication were Chinese institutions. This surge positions China at the forefront of next-generation semiconductor technology. Recently, China decided that they were going to cut off TSMC, one of the biggest producers of chips in the world, in favor of their own technology. They've also replaced NVIDIA's H20 chips with chips from their own producer, Huawei. Moreover, Chinese universities are expanding opportunities for PhD graduates, offering more positions and funding compared to their Western counterparts. This trend is attracting talent that might have previously considered the U.S. for advanced studies. Contrasting with the U.S. approach, Canada is enhancing its appeal to STEM students and professionals. Ontario, that houses Silicon Valley North, and tech universities such as the University of Waterloo and the University of Toronto, where many breakthroughs in AI research come from, have long been a feeder system for U.S. companies and universities. That may no longer be the case. And even with the economic disruptions happening in Ontario, where the province has cut back on university programs, they are increasing funding to STEM programs, and they're increasing funding to boost reading, writing, and math skills, laying a strong foundation for future scientific endeavors and students in our universities. As well, even though there's been recent pressure to tighten immigration numbers in Canada, all of the political parties in the recent election have said that highly qualified immigrants will always be welcome. So the U.S.'s restrictive visa policies and reduced funding for scientific research may have long-term consequences. By limiting access for international students and researchers, the country risks diminishing its innovation capacity and its global competitiveness. As many people have pointed out, there is no way that the U.S. can generate the number of engineers that it needs, even if it could bring chip production onshore. And meanwhile, nations like China and Canada are capitalizing on these shifts, positioning themselves as new leaders in science and technology. As the global landscape evolves, the U.S. faces a critical decision: adapt its policies to maintain its leadership, or risk ceding ground to more welcoming and proactive nations. Apple has removed the Available Now label from its Apple Intelligence promotional materials following a recommendation from the National Advertising Division, NAD, part of the Better Business Bureau national programs. The NAD concluded that the phrase was misleading and suggested AI-powered features, including priority notifications, Genmoji, Image Playground, and ChatGPT integration, were immediately accessible with the iPhone 16 launch. However, Apple only released some of these features initially, with further capabilities introduced in later updates. But the NAD also criticized the inadequate footnote clarifications and pointed out that Apple's claim included AI-enhanced Siri that had not yet launched. In response, Apple updated its materials and discontinued a related promotional video featuring Bella Ramsey. Although Apple disagrees with some of NAD's findings, it has agreed to comply with the recommendations to ensure transparency in its advertising. It's pretty sad when it takes the Better Business Bureau to tell one of the world's largest and most sophisticated tech firms that they're missing the boat on AI and over-promoting it just a smidgen. And as much as we might appreciate the fair warning that Apple's falling behind in AI, as that famous country song lyric goes, tell me something I don't know. And that's our show. Love to hear your comments as always. You can reach me at editorial@technewsday.ca. You can find me on LinkedIn, a lot of people do, or on YouTube. Just drop a note under the video. I'm your host, Jim Love. Have a wonderful Wednesday.